Hello everyone and welcome to my new play and chat video. This is Alien 3 on the Sega Mega Drive. I decided to do another one of these videos so soon because I quite enjoyed making the last one. The last one I did was the Modern Warfare 3 play and chat, which was the Special Ops video. And so I decided to do this one, and plus the fact I had a few things to say. And so I thought, well, why not? Let's make another video. Makes a lot of sense. And as I say, I enjoyed doing the last one. The first thing I want to do is give a big shout out to Steve Benway, who has the Retro Gaming Collectors channel. I'll put a link to it in my description box, although I know many of my subscribers will know who the guy is. Yeah, a big shout out because he gave me a fantastic shout out in last Fridays. He does a Friday talkie, and he gave me a fantastic shout out in that, and from that I have gained a huge number of subscribers. Now, when I first decided to do video channels, I didn't do it with the intention of, winning any sort of popularity contests or being, or having loads of subscribers or anything like that. It was more or less something I was doing for myself. I'd always enjoyed watching video games videos on YouTube, and so I thought, well, I'll give it a bash myself. I bought a video capture card. Well, the first videos I started out was pointing a camera at the screen, but in the room that I have all my video game stuff set up, it's a south facing one, and even with the curtains and the blinds closed, I was still getting some terrible glare on the TV, and I didn't really have the option to move things around. So I went out and bought a video capture card, which was this Elgato video capture card, because I have a Mac, and believe it or not, trying to find a video capture card that works well on the Mac is quite a difficult thing. I thought it would have been the easiest thing in the world because, the Macs are renowned for, for design and stuff like that. A lot of design people prefer to use Macs than they do PCs. So I just thought, well, video capture, that should fit into that category. But it was actually very difficult to find one that would specifically work with the Mac. There were others out there, but they required you downloading various software found around the internet, and I didn't want to have something that was going to give me a headache. And certainly those capture cards, the HD capture card certainly was very expensive, and I wasn't prepared to spend a considerable amount of money on something that was going to end up not working quite how I wanted it. But anyway, went off on a bit of a sidetrack there. Yeah, I mean, as I say, I didn't actually set out with the intention of making videos to be as a popularity contest, or to win any popularity contest, should I say. But it's nice to know that there are people out there that do enjoy your stuff, and a lot of the kind comments that's been on my channel and in the past few days and everything, it's really blown me away. And so I wanted to give a big shout out to Steve Benway, because there's no, his mention of me in the video has really sort of put my channel onto another level, and I really do appreciate that. It was very kind words. And if anybody's watching this who don't follow him on YouTube, you really should, because his videos are really good and they're really enjoyable to watch. And then also a big shout out as well to all the subscribers that follow me. It really is appreciated, and it is important to me that I am making videos that people enjoy, because when you put time and effort into something, it is nice to know that there are those out there that enjoy it. So I just wanted to do that first of all, and yeah, thanks a lot everybody. So yeah, this is Alien 3 on the Sega Mega Drive, and this is actually the third time I've owned this game. I bought a copy of this game. I think it was about £5 this week, and I was really impressed when I got it. It's fully boxed. The box is in excellent condition. It's clean, it's tidy, there's no bits missing off the box. The cartridge is clean, it's been well looked after. The label hasn't been ripped or anything like that, and it doesn't look dog-eared. The only thing that I would say, that aside from the fact that obviously I knew it was going to be second hand, the only thing that I would say would give this away as being something that isn't as good as new is just there's a couple of creases on the instruction manual, but that's been so that would be too pedantic to criticise it for that. It's in absolute excellent condition, and I was made up when I got it through the post. As I say, this is one of my favourite Mega Drive games, and this is the third time I've owned it, and it's quite interesting. When I was playing it, I remembered some places where the guys were cocooned to the walls, because the objective of the game is to rescue the guys from the walls and then get to the exit before the time limit runs out, or before the aliens pull your head off and do various hideous things with it. And I remembered where some of the guys were, because I used to play this for hours and hours, but I missed some of the obvious places where they were as well when I first started playing it. It's kind of amazing how you remember certain things in a game, but you forget other things. I certainly remembered where some aliens would leap out at me, but then there were other places where I just didn't have a clue. But yeah, I really enjoyed playing this. I really enjoyed making this video and going back and playing this game, and I certainly want to put a few more hours into playing it. I think Probe made a couple of games during this period. I'm sure they did the Terminator as well. Terminator was quite a short game compared to this one. I'm sure Probe did that. I might be wrong, but this feels very similar. It's sort of got a similar graphical style to it, but this was, out of the two, for me, this was the far better game. I had both of them, but the Terminator one was quite a short game compared to this, and its challenge was in the fact that it was absolutely rock hard. This was difficult, but you could play it for quite some time. I got more enjoyment out of this. It's called Alien 3, but it only loosely follows the plot of the film. I mean, there was only one alien in that film, and Ripley had no guns or flamethrowers or anything like that, and so it kind of uses the setting of the film, but it's got nothing to do with the film. And that was kind of the case with a lot of games that were movie tie-ins that was released, not just around this period, but the period before and after it as well. And it was much the better for it. I mean, I suppose you could have made a game with only one alien, but it would have been remarkably boring. So taking this type of license with the game, so to speak, really, really does work. And graphically and sound-wise, I always thought it was stunning. The animation is absolutely top-notch. The sound it's really good, and I like the music in it, and I like the sound effects and what have you, but it is kind of curious that it kind of goes from the spooky type of sound one would normally associate with an alien film, and then it'll cut into something ridiculous like sort of like a techno track or something like that. It is kind of strange, but it's really good anyway. That seemed to be the case with a lot of Mega Drive games. There was very, very few games that I recall having soundtracks that were very similar to the film. Although the Terminator one did have a stab at the Terminator soundtrack at the beginning of its game, and then I think it went into some sort of 80s, 90s techno funk. I might be talking a load of rubbish. I can't really remember that one. I might actually try and find that game, the Terminator, so I can play that one and do a review on that. There was a really good one as well, RoboCop versus the Terminator. That was a really good game too, I seem to recall. Yeah, that is a real comic book. That's a kind of a real comic book person's dream, isn't it? Who would win the battle between RoboCop and the Terminator? I would say the Terminator, because RoboCop still is a man, and he gets, he's still part man in there. The Terminator's not part man. He's just a killing machine. And plus the fact the Terminator can move far faster than RoboCop. I mean, that was always the thing that I thought with RoboCop. Why have you made the guy so slow? He can run away from him. The Terminator's much faster. He's much more advanced. Yeah, RoboCop. Sorry, mate. You're not going to win that fight. So yeah, I'll take my geeky head off there. Yeah, what else did I want to chat about? I had quite a few things really I wanted to get through. It seems now all the talk is starting to head towards the next generation of consoles, which I think is going to be very interesting to see what actually happens. Because in the past, the main focus of new consoles was always more power, and nowadays that really isn't going to be so much the case. If there's one thing that this past generation taught us, that the most successful console in terms of units sold, certainly initially, was the Wii, and that was last generation technology repackaged with motion controllers. And Sony and Microsoft have followed suit, but I'm not a big fan of motion control, certainly in the way that Microsoft have packaged it with the Kinect. I can see there's a huge amount of potential there with it, but the execution of it to me is just exactly as I feared when it was first announced. It just seems that people who are developing games for it are developing games in a way that it was developed for the Wii. The motion controls to the Wii was a fantastic idea, but what happened was because games were cheaper to produce for it, a lot more game developers were making games that really didn't make full usage of it. And by that I mean that so many of them were just like these cooking games and these rubbishy dance games. I mean, how can you have a dance game where essentially the basic thing is using a motion controller that uses your arms? I mean, for the most part, with a lot of the Wii games, you could cheat. I mean, you can't really do that with the Kinect because you do have to stand up. But with the Kinect, the main problem that I have is space. I mean, it does say on the box, it says on the box that the ideal distance is 6 foot. Now, before I bought the Kinect, I measured the distance from the television to where I'd be able to stand, and I had 6 foot. When I connected the device up and tried to play the Kinect Adventures game that it came bundled with, it was clear that I was going to need far more space. And that meant having to put the Kinect sensor mounted on a camera tripod to the side of the television, which meant that I was having to play games on the Kinect at a weird angle. I was having to stand in front of the Kinect sensor, and then I was having to look to the side towards the television. Now, that just renders it pointless. You can't really play the game properly that way because you can't focus properly on what you're doing. And that's the main problem with Kinect. It's a ridiculous amount of space that you need to be able to play the thing properly. Now, that's okay if you've got a living room with that much space, but I mean, I live in a reasonably sized semi-detached house, and without, having to move your furniture in order to play a game just isn't practical. I mean, it's the kind of thing that was only ever going to get done if you were having a proper session of it, or if you're having a party or something like that. And it's not really a party peripheral either, because it'll only support 2 players, as far as I'm aware anyway. I've only seen games that it supports 2 players, and so that kind of takes away the party element. And the people that make these products, I sometimes think they don't put enough time in actually thinking about what it is they're creating. Kinect has the potential to be something really, really good, but you've got to make the hardware practical, and you've got to make the hardware appeal to not just casual gamers, but the hardcore element of gamers as well. Now, the reason being is because the hardcore gamer is prepared to invest the time and the money into a product that doesn't work as well as it should do. A hardcore gamer is far more likely to persevere, like I did, messing around with a camera tripod trying to get the damn thing to work, than a casual gamer. Now, I suppose you could get into the debate of what is a casual gamer and what is a hardcore gamer, but I always view it this way. A casual gamer is somebody who comes in, just wants to sit down and put a game on and just get on with it, or wants to get the Wii and just do whatever it is they have to do. They want minimum fuss. That's the thing, they want minimum fuss. A casual gamer, I would state, would never ever play games on a PC, because playing games on a PC can involve a lot of faffing around, and that's not usually how these people roll. This is just my opinion. I'm not saying this is in any way, shape or form a definitive statement. It's just my opinion on what I class as a casual and a hardcore gamer. A hardcore gamer will put with far, far more. Your average hardcore video gamer will put with technology that doesn't work properly. They will go on the internet and they'll busy themselves in finding workarounds for the technology that doesn't work properly. They'll put up with stuff like, for example, the red rings of death on the Xbox, and they'll still keep getting another Xbox. They'll still persevere with it. I don't think a casual gamer goes in for any of that, and that was why the Wii was so successful, because it really appealed to that casual gamer. There was very little complexity with it at all. Yet, if Microsoft are trying to go into the market to appeal to the casual gamer, why have they brought out a product that is going to require a lot of faffing around in order for you to play it? I mean, sure, once you've got up and running, it's great, I suppose, and you just wave your arms around and that's it. But that's kind of misunderstanding. If you've got misunderstanding the market that they're trying to get into, because nobody who is a casual gamer is going to start moving furniture around the room. That's for certain. I mean, I just don't think that people, if you said to somebody who went to buy Kinect that you're going to need all of this space and you're going to need to move stuff around the living room in order to make it work, or you could have the Wii where you just plug it in and you can sit there and wave the controller around and you don't need to do anything else, then that person is going to go for the Wii, because every time they don't, and that was almost an unintended pun there, because they just don't want the hassle, and they're certainly not going to pay. I mean, when it came out it was over £100. I mean, I think it's come down in price now. They don't want that hassle. And why should they want that hassle? Why should you have to mess about? Why should you have to go through all that trouble? And I think Sony sort of picked up on this, and they kind of went with, okay, well, we'll just clone what Nintendo have done with the Wii, with the PlayStation Move. And on paper, that was a pretty good idea. And for my money, I think the PlayStation Move works better. But again, it's another one of these devices where you're talking about putting it, and this applies to Microsoft as well. You're talking about putting these control systems on a console that already has an established control system that works really well, and that's the joypad. And the joypad is something that comes standard. Every single console you buy, that joypad is standard. So, bearing that in mind, you're creating a controller really that should be or is an alternative to the control system that comes as standard with the console. So, who in their right mind is going to make a main AAA game that is tailored specifically for the Kinect and the Move? There's very, very few developing companies going to do that, because they're going to appeal to less of a market than they would do if they made it with the DualShock 3 or the 360 controller in mind. So therefore, unlike the Wii, which the Wii Remote is standard, and therefore all games made for it, doesn't matter whether it's cheapo games or the main AAA games, are all designed to work on it. Both the Xbox 360 and the PS3's controllers are secondary devices, and so therefore you're not going to see AAA games made specifically for these. And so, I mean, I can't think of a single Kinect game that I desperately want, and I own the device, and I have 2 games for it, and that's it. And it's not just because I have difficulty in using the device. I mean, believe me, if there was a AAA game, an absolute must-have game that was available for either the Move or the Kinect, then I would go and get it, because I didn't spend all the money on those devices to have them sit there doing nothing. Now, I know that the PlayStation 3 has stuff like Killzone and what have you that have Move support, but again, it's support. The game itself was not built primarily for the Move or what have you. It's the same with Forza 4. It wasn't built primarily for Kinect. I mean, the actual Kinect interface for Forza 4 is little more than an add-on, really. It's like you move your head around and the Kinect camera tracks it, and that's how, in the in-car view or whatever, you look around. And that's a neat idea, but that's not going to sell Kinects. And that's the bottom line. That's not going to make people want to dig their Kinect out of the closet or out of the cupboard and start using it. And this is really lengthy way of getting around to saying what's going to happen with the next generation. If graphically we're kind of reaching a plateau in terms of what we can achieve, I mean, you're looking at improved frame rates and better textures, and that's about it. So you're looking at a very incremental increase, a small increment, not necessarily the quantum leap that we've seen from the sort of PlayStation and Xbox to Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. You're looking at something that's far less of a leap. And certainly, bigger and more powerful graphics also usually means more development time, which increase costs. And a lot of these things are always going to be dictated to by games developers and publishers, and they simply don't want more costs. They're looking to cut costs, because the offshoot of what they would have to do is game prices would have to go up, and as we all know, that is like a no-no, because the recommended retail price of games in the UK is £50. It's $49.99, yet most retailers will sell at $39.99. there's very few outlets will actually sell at the recommended retail price because they know that people simply won't pay it. I would not pay £50 for a standard game. I just wouldn't do it. It's not worth it to me. It's far too expensive. I would pay £40, and okay, you can say, well, it's only £10, but that's only £10 per game. So if you buy 10 games, that's £100. So you could have bought another 2 games for that. You got to sort of think about it, that paying £10 more for a game, just as far as I'm concerned, is a non-starter. I wouldn't do it. So publishers have got to consider that as well. They've got to make sure that they keep a kind of equilibrium of the prices that people are prepared to pay. I mean, look at Modern Warfare 3. It's sold by the truckloader. I think it made something ridiculous like over $700 million in 5 days of sales. Now, there were many places selling that far less than the recommended retail price. So they've made a huge amount of money based on that. You know, they would have made less if the game had been selling for £10, £15 or dollars more. So that's something that they have to consider as well. If you start increasing the price, then they're going to sell fewer units, and if they sell fewer units, they're not going to be very happy about it. So what you're essentially left with is, like I say, it's going to be an incremental, very small incremental increase as far as the technology goes. So it's going to be more about how we play these games rather than how the games visually look. I mean, sound wise, I don't see where else they can go. I mean, you know, they're running real sound and what have you off these things anyway. So it's a tricky one, and if the motion controllers that they've bought out aren't necessarily setting the world on fire, which they haven't done, then the question really does have to be put forward, is what is the point? What is going to be the point? And that's where it's going to be interesting to see what they do in terms of this next generation of consoles. To me, it's going to be very much a case of what is going to be the unique selling point. If high definition was the selling point for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 and playing games online, those are the two main elements of this generation we've got now, then it's going to be interesting to see what the selling point is. I hope it's not going to be cloud gaming, because that's not something I'm a fan of at all, and I think that is going to give too much power to games publishers to artificially inflate prices, and you're going to have a much greater dividing line between the haves and the have-nots in terms of games. So yeah, that will be interesting to see. I mean, I think Microsoft look like they're going to go first, show their hand. I know Nintendo have done it with the Wii U, but the Wii U is sort of a revision of the Wii. I mean, the controller idea is fantastic, but I hate to see that controller in the hands of a kid being thrown down on the floor in a fit of temper. You know, technologically speaking, it's a fantastic idea, but I'm more interested to see what Microsoft and Sony are going to do. So that's pretty much all I've got to say about that. So yeah, what's going to happen there? Another thing that's been sort of driving me mad is people wanting to compare Battlefield 3 and Modern Warfare 3. That's just a ridiculous thing to me. It's just a completely ridiculous thing. They're two different types of game, the two different types of first-person shooter. One's far more tactical than another, and you can tell in the way that they appeal to different gamers. I mean, for example, your Modern Warfare 3 gamer tends to be somebody who's like the Rambo of the battlefield. They'll go running around by themselves. Teamwork doesn't really seem to come into it. I've played a number of games of Kill Confirmed, and it's laughable to see the fact that they either don't get what they're supposed to be doing, or they don't really care. But the basis of that game is to pick up the dog tags of the people that have been shot, and yet when it actually comes to it, they run past it. They're more concerned about killing people. That's not how you're going to win the game. And I've played that many games of it, and it's just so funny. If you get stuck on a team with a couple of idiots in Modern Warfare 3, you've had it. It ceases to become funny at times. It just becomes a really, really big, frustrating mess. Battlefield 3 is a far more tactical thing, having the different, the different types of soldier you have, and you're not really going to get very far by yourself either. In that, if you go running off by yourself, you're going to get shot very, very quickly. That's a far more tactical game, but that's not without its frustrations either. That has things in it like, I mean, the sniper kills always drive me mad in games like that. It's par for the course, you have to work around it, but when you spawn straight into the game and you take 2 steps and you're dead, that becomes quite a frustrating thing. I think it's less of a problem in Battlefield 3 because of the fact that the maps are much larger. The Modern Warfare 3 maps are so small. It does make for more frantic gameplay, but it also means that dying within seconds of spawning becomes more of an issue as well. And I've never understood why, and it's a bugbear of mine, why games developers don't give the player a few seconds invincibility when they spawn back into the game. I think it would solve a huge problem of spawn camping straight away, because no one's going to do it if they know they're going to be vulnerable to being shot. Simply giving a player 5 seconds where they can get reorientated, get themselves together, it's a far better thing. There are some games which do employ that type of system to discourage spawn camping, but the vast majority of them don't, and I don't think it makes for good gameplay. I'm certainly not a fan of spawning in a game and being shot within seconds. That's no fun at all. So that's something that they need to look at, and I don't see why it's such a problem to implement, why they seem so against implementing it. But yeah, I don't get why you have to like one or the other, why you can't like both, because they're both different experiences. But it's just the childishness that seems to come along with video games, and people have this very childish approach to it. Whether it's which console is better, now it's which game is better. It goes on, and it's pointless at the end of the day, because it's all down to what you enjoy playing. There's enough of us out there to get both games successful, and there's certainly enough differences between both games to enjoy them for what they are, and not have to resort to making those type of comparisons. Which one is better? well, you know, what type of game do you want to play? And a lot of the websites, big websites, I'm not going to name them, I'm not going to give them the acknowledgement here, but a lot of them make it far worse as well, because they publish these huge articles with the screaming headlines that are designed to do nothing more than whip up the fanboys into a frenzy. So they know exactly what they're doing, and that drives me mad too. It's like everything else. It just seems that the art of doing things in a way that doesn't require sensationalism has gone out the window, and just simply reporting things factually is no longer good enough. Have to, you know, go down this path of being ridiculous over everything, you know, whether it be reporting on games or reporting on news events. Everything has to be sensationalized, and somewhere in the midst of all that, the truth gets lost in all cases. But yeah, so I think that's enough of that one, talking about which is best. I don't know myself, really. It depends what mood I'm in. If I'm in the mood for frenetic shooting, I go for Modern Warfare 3. If I want to go for something a bit more tactical, then I'll go for Battlefield 3. So I don't know. Special Ops is very good. I do like that. That's a neat feature with Modern Warfare 3. But that's really, you know, again, it's more frenetic action. So, I mean, that's probably pretty much it for this playing chat. We've covered quite a bit in there, and yeah, I got completely lost here playing Alien 3. This was just where I completely forgot where I was supposed to go. I could see the guy up there at the top who needed rescuing, and I just locked up brain-wise. I completely forgot where I was supposed to go, and I kept trying to get onto the platform that was going across, and I don't think I needed to do that. I think I needed to just go back up a ladder that I came down originally. But as I say, I got completely lost here. I had no idea where I was going until it was too late, which was mildly annoying. That was the one thing. The timing of that platform was always off. If you missed that bit, or you fell off like I did there, that was it. You had to wait ages before you could get back on it again. And that wasn't particularly useful in a game that has a timer on it. But I think I figured it out that I had to go there, to the right, just there. And this platform, I think, was a red herring. I don't think I needed to go onto that. I don't think there was a guy down here. I could be wrong. Well, there may have been a guy down here. I can't remember. No, it was a red herring, and by that time I was inside the last 30 seconds. There was no way I was going to get all the way back up there and back down again. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll end on my dismal failure to do this level. I've been doing so well up until this point, and see there, I actually figured it out that I needed to go back up here and just sort of backtrack all the way. That is the thing with this. If you missed one of them early on, there could be a tremendous amount of backtracking. And yeah, my time ran out. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this. Sorry, it was a long rant, but not a rant, but chat. And please stay tuned for more videos coming up soon.